Good afternoon, you're listening to Kootenai Co-op Radio, CJLY 93.5 FM in Nelson, British Columbia. It's time for Universal Traveler. I'm your Universal Travel Agent, Spectral Star Wizard. This show is sponsored by Gaia Rising, the Metaphysical Resource Center on Baker Street. Supporters of this show for years now, thank you so much, Gaia Rising. Thank you to all members and any support of free speech, where we hear what people actually think and not just what some people want other people to think. At least that's what I've experienced. See for yourself. By the way, there's a half-price sale on the Star Traveler's Guide, which is a calendar, a book for tuning into multiple levels of synchronometry, primarily the Mayan calendar. Very, very, very empowering information in there. Even if you're already quite dialed into the Mayan calendar, every day they have incredible, very empowering statements on every page that is always very awakening and alerting. So just saying, just sharing, and that's what this show is about. Just sharing. I receive downloads through the heart. I tune into the unified field, I receive information, and what feels empowering, I share. Take what serves. What is the most beneficial overall? Consider it all. There are, again, universal. We're looking at empowering everybody as fully as possible, and that means that we all have to discern for ourselves what is most serving. When we are as holistic as possible and we consider it all, then we can apply accordingly in our own ways. We're all sharing our own talents to serve the highest good of all, and that's where relativity is very important. Full moon aligned with Uranus last night. I'll get into that in a few moments. So let's start out the show. It's a big show. I've got at least 4 hours that it would take to actually dial into what's going on this week. So rather than do that, which I can't, I'm just going to have to give overviews, minimize details. So that's good. But just letting you know, if I don't mention some things you thought I should have, perhaps, I've amalgamated it all into a summary here. So let's start by tuning into the heart center, breathing the unity breath, breathing the unity, tuning into the unity, tuning into the etheric, quantum, universal water that we're soaking in, the body of this, the universal body of the source. Souls are like cells in the universal body, tuning into our center within the greater being that we are. Souls, our cells, are all serving the highest good of the body, depending on what organ they're particularly placed in. So again, placing ourselves wisely, tuning in, what are my most empowering gifts to share with the world? What would the universe miss out on if I didn't do what I'm called to do? Tuning into the heart, tuning into the spirit, tuning into the Dharma. Intuition tunes within to it. A good way to tune into the unified field, aside from the unity breath and just being as centered in the present as possible, going beyond the mind, centering the heart, tuning into our spirit beyond mind. The heart's the driver, the mind's just a vehicle. The mind and body are vehicles of the spirit. Tuning in as fully as possible to the unified field beyond appearances. Major downloads, very powerful Uranus transits. The Uranus rules Aquarius, the Aquarian age. We're in the cusp of very emphasized the quickenings, shifts, renovations. It's not always comfortable. It's a matter of recognizing, okay, when things come up as problems, perhaps we could call it, it is pointing out something that could be tweaked. Now, on what level? So it's very important to just dial into, okay, what does this mean? What's the best I can do about this or that? Tuning in, paying attention, doing everything we can to be as empowering as possible and be empowered. In the dream spell count of the 9-dimensional synchronometry, we're in the mystic column, the center of the cycle. This is the most powerful activation point. I've related by analogy to the tree trunk of life, and where the information streams of space-time emanate, the eternal now. We're in the mirror wave spell, the mirror of self, the eternal now. There are eternal truths or divine truths. There are relative truths. Again, tuning in as much as possible to divine universal truths, for again, lack of better words, and all of us discerning for ourselves the relative perspective in each circumstance. How much do you apply it here or there? Again, having as holistic a tool belt as possible so that we can cook accordingly, spice accordingly. So yeah, organizing change, that really is a key right there. Organizing the changes. We're in a paradigm level shift, catalyst for change. It's a collective healing crisis. It is really, we could say vibrationally, the field is saturating and we are becoming more intuitive, and consciousness, we might say, intention manifests more quickly and easily. It's very important what we're focused on, and that we utilize this potential as fully as possible and as consciously as possible, so that it doesn't just stray off in scattered directions or unimportant things or even detrimental things. So focusing as much on positive change and not thinking that we're stuck in this and this is what's going to happen. And I would say the only apocalypse would be the apocalypse of lower ego or dysfunctional modalities. So very important to be utilizing and co-creating with this energy as possible. High activation, high potentiality calls for higher awareness. With great power affords calls for great responsibility. The quickening, again, organizing change. Blatant, the quickening. Often I say, what is it? What is it now? What's with it today? Look it up in the astrology. Oh, it's Uranus. And it's the quickening energy. Now, that doesn't mean that some planet doing something to us. It's the vibration is higher. There's more ability. There's more potentiality. Now, that could run in many different directions. So, again, that's why it calls for more focus and at the same time not being stuck. So, being open-minded and asking, what would love do with me, through me, as me now? In change, we don't have, perhaps, and accordingly, a previous reference to this new thing. So it really calls for being present in our heart and what we'd love to. Take what serves, what's the most beneficial, consider it all. It's not the ifs or whats as much as when and how. I suggest for the show from here on maybe do some yoga or some qigong or assume a meditative pose, but minimizing distractions, focusing on the heart, focusing on sensing through the heart, beyond the words, way above and beyond words. That words are an extreme downstepping. I receive information as signals that I put into words because I'm talking on the radio. First 30 years of my life, I just didn't bother because words felt like blasphemy. It's so far beyond words, but it's really hard to move forward if we're not communicating. So the middle, the harmony point, there's omnipotential, and then there's present circumstances. And in the middle, we are harmonizing, and yet we're growing in that harmonizing. Do you really? It's amazing the electricity, the buzz in the air. Have you heard it? Feel it? Twitches sometimes. It's like a lightning. And this is the full moon aligned with Uranus and square to Pluto. There's a lot. I'll get into this more in a few moments, but there is a high activation of energy. There's a buzz in the air, literally. And on a good side, it's kind of like lightning, because we could look at it this way, that it's like rebooting the computer, our software. The shaking can reboot. So turn back on the computer without 20 programs running, being as centered as possible, and simplifying. Complexity calls for simplification. It's a natural, universal law of energy that is called by science a strange attractor. When a complexity reaches a level of saturation, it returns to simplicity. So we are at the dawn before, at the darkest hour. So it's recognizing that the complexity is catalyzing the simplicity, and that this could sound like a paradox, but it is actually a natural cyclic order. It's where we octave. You know, when let's say you're running up the scale musically, and the further you get from your root note, the more kind of tension, in a sense, builds up, and you get to the last note before resolution, and there's the most tension, and then when it resolves, you're like, oh, we reached the next octave. Oh, resolution. There's a dissonance before the resolution, and this is what's so important here, is that dissonance, that uncomfortable feeling, is exactly what catalyzes us to do something, to be more aligned, to let go of what's dysfunctional. What's irritating? Well, work on that. In another sense, what's better? Just do that. No need to live in the past or change the past as much as do something better right now. It's a lot easier. Share the resources and massive conflict. Wow, that would be a really good one. So again, the ideals and the what can we do. So when the old or outmoded comes up to be released, this is the storm of purification. There's a lot of triggering to release the outmoded, which is excellent, but it isn't necessarily comfortable. So it's recognizing, hey, wow, am I ever glad to realize I had unconscious blocks, anger, upsets, regrets, etc., and to let them go with forgiveness, acceptance, acknowledgement, and apology. Most conflicts are a two-way thing. You can't dance by yourself. I mean, we should put that. Let me put that in another way. Dancing is a two-way thing, and it's funny because these days it's not really so true. That's an outmoded statement. So again, more into the present. Working together, recognizing that it's dynamics between us. That's what relationships are. It's not one person's fault. Everything is relative. Everything is related. Even very wise sayings are relative to everything as well. So there really are no absolutes in that sense, but that's an absolute right there. So recognizing when do we apply, it's not what or if, but when and how. So we're in the 9D synchronometry. We're in the dream spell count, the mirror wave spell, and in the traditional count, we're ending the Kimi wave spell. First of all, the mirror wave spell, the dream spell count, seeing ourself in the center of all that is, self-reflection, the truth of now. If you visualize a inverted mirror ball, and you're in the center. We're all in our own center, we might say. But it is the same universal mirror ball. Now, no matter what angle you look on, you're seeing a reflection of the whole, the center. You're seeing yourself no matter which way you look, but any way you look, you see a different angle. This is like many different people. We can all look at the same thing and see something else in it. We have our own perception, our own perspective, our own relativities. And they are probably very accurate for ourselves. You put them all together, you look at all, so let's just go into our heart, beyond the mind, beyond the eyes, beyond the five senses, and receive the information from all angles, which actually is too much information for the mind and summarizes as a feeling, as a sensing, as a receptive tuning in. What would love do with me, through me, as me now? There's the, bypass all the confusion, straight to what do I do about it, or with it, or through it now. Tuning in vibrationally. Follow your heart, follow your bliss. You're online. The vibration is correct. It's healthy. It's a positive, beneficial state. So when we see ourselves in the center of this inverted mirror ball, which is a hologram, all the angles are reflecting angles of the whole. They're relative truths. They're angles of the whole. It is this and is that and is these and is those, but there is a holistic universality in all the angles. So honoring diversity is a good example of that. Receiving all of it at once, beyond words, what is the summary? Which is exactly what this shows. This particular episode is particularly focusing on that, because, again, there's at least 4 hours for sure that I could get into with details. Don't have it. Thank God, actually. So the traditional count, we're in the Kimi wave, which is about ending blocks to open opportunity. Acknowledging and surrendering. Holding resentment hurts the holder. Forgiveness, apology, acceptance, and acknowledgement. The 4 A's. Forgiveness, acceptance, acknowledgement, and apologies. These all are karmic clearing agents. When we factor it with empathy and compassion, whichever word, and let's go beyond words, acceptance, really, in a sense, then we let the charge go. It's like acknowledging, well, yeah, that happened, but am I going to let it ruin my life, or am I going to take the lesson, leave the book? Are we still living in the past? Are we recreating the past? So that's, and quite often, again, things come up that show us, hey, maybe you are there. Forgive that, let it go. Good thing you found out. You're not going to keep doing it. But the shadow is to get worse, to react again, to empower it and not realize that, hey, it's a charge coming up to show you. It's kind of like, let's say you find mold in the basement. It's the oh no, but oh yes. It answers all the problems. All we need to do is clear it up. It's an attitude, positive attitude about it. Thank you for showing me the problem. I can now release it. Perfect. The Kawak wave spell we're entering tomorrow in the traditional count. Purification for ascension, a windstorm. Enlightening universal fire, putting us more in the present according to how much we are aligned with it and not resisting it. Being an open transceiver. We are transceivers. When the mind is objective, we might say, or open-minded, it's receptive. We are a clear transceiver. We clear the mirror. We don't have a smoky mirror. We have a clear mirror. We don't have we minimize our reactivity to it and respond as appropriately as possible. Again, easier said than done, far easier done when said, acknowledged, and applied liberally. Self-generate the matrix, the natural matrix of energy, life force, the storm of ascension, which is growing forward. Ascending on any level is better than descending. So, what is good about this? What is great about this? What's the best thing about this? Why would this happen? What is my lesson here? Chiron is sextile Pluto, and Pluto are square to Uranus almost precisely, The full moon was lined with Uranus by less than a degree. Very, very powerful columns, like 39 squares with energy vortex centers, some of them planets. The wounded healer and the purification. It is when these things come up, it is to be dealt with. Some people go into a hypnotic state in order to recognize unconscious blocks, things that they don't even know they're holding to let go of it. So again, it's like facing Darth Vader in the cave. We might not want to do that, but we do. And when you bring a light into a dark room, you find out what was there that you didn't know about. Now you can clear it out. So we, again, are honoring these things and being thankful that it comes up to release it. Easier said than done, a lot easier done when acknowledged. So, again, we learn from everything. We learn from everything from mistakes to perfection, the whole spectrum. They're all models. There is no absolutes. What is it now? That's the truth of now. Cycles, it's the whole all the time. And what is most appropriate in what level? We could call that irony. We could call it paradoxes. We could call it Murphy's Law. We could call it catch-22s. It is holism. It's the reality of the whole. One being, multiple forms. Well, they're both going on. And every point between is the 10,000 things born of the primordial expansion. The expansion of self. The universe expresses through multiple forms. For holism, as holism. There is no separation. We could stand and look from a certain side and say, well, it's 90% from here. But you could also stand somewhere else and say, and it's 90% over there. It's still all of it. It's like cake mixes. What tastes good? What's a beneficial combination? Accepting this is the media we're working with. We're cooking with the universe. What beneficial combinations? Different people like different kinds of cookies. So what do you want today? So much details. Again, I must just do the overview. It's way too much to cover it in any other way than overviews and archetypes. But the most important thing I would say to focus on here was the full moon aligned with Uranus, 3/4 of a degree. This is square root of Pluto by half a degree. And very highly activated by Chiron as well, which is transmitting some healing codes that are triggered by, literally triggered by us focusing on it. If there's a problem, we do something. It's best to prevent, but if things come up, then it's best to respond. So, and beneficially as much as possible. What is the most beneficial choice in every moment? What is serving overall highest good? Sometimes that could be, say, 90% what you like about it, 10% you don't. It's more overall beneficial than 80-20. And recognize, hey, the highest good of all is the best you can do right now. These are relativities. And what is the ideal? Shoot for the stars and accept the moon. Do what you can right now. You'll get closer and closer. The transfer stations are the planets. High frequency energy, spontaneous events can happen. It's omnidirectionality, we might say, which is simply amplified. It's a hologram all the time. It's amplified at certain parts of the cycle. Nature emphasizes and de-emphasizes things in cycles. Just recognizing it. Oh, where are we now in the cycle? Aligning will with the macro field. What is the environmental conditions we're soaking in? This is what I'd like to do. It's raining. Oh, it's going to be sunny later. I think I'll bring both a jacket and a sunscreen, depending. Having a tool belt of holism to respond accordingly in each circumstance. Higher potentiality is a paradox in a sense, because it's higher potentiality for anything, and that's where will comes in and says, co-creation with the environmental conditions. This is the vibratory weather we're soaking in. You might want to ride the wave to the highest of our ability and to accept that's all we knew at that time. And tuning into the heart, because that'll go way beyond what we thought we knew with our library of information stored in the processing unit called the organic brain. We're tuning into the spirit, which is connected to the entire unified field of all that is. No separation from source. It's not who is speaking, it is who is listening. Or not to whom it is speaking, it is to whom is receiving and listening and applying according. Personal and collective awakenings, a collective healing crisis. Personal and collective. We all do it in our own ways. We're all doing it together. Accordingly, the level is the catalyst. The truth, for instance. Truth can trigger us into anything from upset to relief. Depends on our response to it. It's like, thank God I found that out. Sharing resources. Turn the car if it's headed towards a cliff. End strife and end conflict by sharing. It's having level playing fields. When people have enough that they're not desperate, then these crazy desperate actions don't happen. Then at least in the realms of resources. So a few variations. It's nothing like a few variations in the playing field. You know, maybe if you did some troughs here. Nothing like a steep cliff. So the haves and the have-nots, the structures are the entire, let's put it this way. Organized structures can serve or not serve at any point between. Sometimes it's, again, 80-20, 90-99, whatever. What is it? Tweaking. Doing the best we can. Well, it's the best you can. 90-10 was the best you can. Oh, okay, so it'll probably be 91-9 next time because you're working in a benefit. You've acknowledged, you have accepted you're working with it. So structures, dysfunctional structures are the entire disharmony. It's the root. So we need to transplant in fresh soil, which is analogous to an ecoforest structure. The Saturn is culminating its stay in Libra. It's leaving Libra, and it's with Mercury on the same day. I'll get into that in a few moments. Mercury and Saturn align and move into Scorpio together, right before Mars goes into Sag from Scorpio. So there's the focusing balanced relationships. Libra tells us the effect from the cause. Saturn is about collective structures and focus, for lack of better words. Again, all summarizing. When the Libra reflection in the mirror says change this, change that, when Scorpio's job is to do the transformations. So we've been reflecting on where the disorders are and what order is, and the transformations will occur accordingly, especially when Saturn sextiles Pluto, which is in Saturn's sign of Capricorn. They're going into mutual reception, which is they're in each other's signs, and in a sextile aspect, which is an incredible opportunity to rebalance above and below in all realms. This is phenomenally again, a perfect reflection of the galactic alignment, the saturation, the 0 point, the reunification, the remembrance. When the field saturates, we become more intuitive, more psychic, more connected. We start to realize that there is no separation, more and more and more. Why? Because there's less and less apparent separation with the saturation. So the complexity is breeding simplicity through the saturation. Again, a strange attractor. It seems strange. It looks like it's getting worse. It reaches a point of full saturation, and it's like water evaporating as a gas. and eventually condensing again, falling back to the ground, following the rivers, and all ending up back in the one ocean. It's a really good example. It looks like it looks like the universe is going to expand forever. So natural laws actually beyond what it looks like. Multidimensional laws are different than third-dimensional laws, but they are all co-creative octaves. We are in a galactic activation, moving to the next octave of frequencies of vibrations, when every time we complete a spiral cycle, we on any level from a microsecond to 26,000 years, like the galactic alignment, we move up an octave of frequencies, and there is a resolution and a dissonant feeling right before the resolution. So that's very important, that dissonance actually is catalyzing the trigger to move into. So don't resist the beneficial. Don't resist the changes. Don't be afraid of change. Change can be intimidating in a sense. Depends on the level of change. And so when we recognize, though, that natural cycles and natural order are going to change with or without us, then resistance is just suffering futile and creating a friction that's resistant to what is. And at the same time, if we don't choose wisely and co-create with it, then we're not. That would be something to be afraid of, I would say. So again, co-creating, working with it. That's the age of Aquarius. Really nails it. And really complexity saturating into simplicity and a new level of simplicity. The galactic activation, the octavation, galactic octavation, moving up an octave. The dawn is right before the darkest hour metaphor. The complexity is breeding and catalyzing simplicity. Again, the 0 point, the galactic alignment, the apex of approximately 400-year waveform of a 26,000-year multidimensional spherical waveform, centering 2012, the 0 point, we might say, the climax of the cycle. So galactic octavation, going to the next level, scales go up. There's a tension, then there's a resolution. It's the singularity. Singularity is remembrance. Remember us. And so all kinds of different reactions to it. We all intuitively know this, but all kinds of different mental and emotional and egoic reactions to it. Some people think, oh my God, we better control everything to come together. There's the recognition of that. So are we resisting? Are we, oh my God, this is terrible? That would be the ego. Then there is the, right. We are synthesizing into a healthy being that stops fighting over who gets the air particles and the nutrients. The whole body needs to thrive for the whole body to thrive. Very simple. Everything is shifting together. There are jumps and there are leaps at times, and we notice that. Here's a good archetype. Many are familiar with, but it's way beyond words or some example. But this is a good one. John Lennon's song, Imagine. Libra. What a Libra. This is not a dream. This is true vision. This is the Libran attunement. Again, words, okay, they're not always perfect, and what we thought he meant. The only dream is those who doubt it. The age of Aquarius is us. It's emergence. It's re-mergence. It's a remergency. And we are the agency. Love is the agency of the re-emergency. So it's through emergency or crisis, accordingly, that is the re-merge agency. It reminds me of somebody comes in and says, oh, the piano's out of tune, and you could say, oh no, or you could say, thanks for telling me the piano's out of tune. So you tune the piano, and according to how far out the piano is how long it's going to take. It's focusing on, okay, tuning. A440, love, unconditional love. That's attunement, oneness with all that is, the harmony in diversity, the unity in the diversity. allies, maximizing allies. Souls are cells of the universal body. How are we serving the body? So we're humans. We're humans. We are humans. Some of us are dogs and cats listening. Point being, that what do we have to say? Human. We're source. We are all that is. The body is a vehicle of unique, diverse expression. Why? So we have a beautiful garden with lots of colors. So unique form is nature's way. It's holism. The sum is greater than the parts, and the parts were never separate. It takes all the parts for the biosphere, the ecosystem to function well and to thrive accordingly. So the song Imagine, its vision is the Libra and Aquarian vision. It's a good archetype, right? Right, good archetype. Natural order. Again, the only dream is thinking that it's not likely or couldn't happen. When the love of power is overcome by the power of love, the world will reflect peace accordingly. And that's not only the world or the universe, but ourselves. We start at home. Let the power of love overcome the love of power. Start with yourself. Expand outward. It's happening collectively. When everybody does it themselves, then everybody did it together. And we do, at times, need to organize in order for these things to really collectively reflect in a societal structure. So that's the Pluto-Scorpio-Saturn combo platter. So starting within, expanding and radiating, be the change you want to see in the world. Think and intend globally or universally and act locally or personally. Sustainability and working with like-minded. Sustainability, overall well-being. Simple. Sustainability and overall well-being. There's a mantra for survival. Survival. Alignment. Thriving. Simple. Being it. Oh, okay. Now we got complexity. Changes, ending blocks, reorganizing is the challenge, we might say. But just watch, because it's happening now. But did I say just watch? No. Rewind. Don't just watch. You will see when we're being it. The way to peace is to be peaceful. Hurtful people, full of hurt, accordingly. Maybe just right now, maybe overall, maybe in any point between. It's being it. Peace is not a destination, it's a state of being right now. Peace knows the way already. There is no way to peace. Peace already is the way. Love knows the way already because love already is the way. Always. If it isn't built on the foundation of love, it collapses on the builders accordingly. So what are we doing? We're patching up some holes here. What are the holes? Duality, fear, imbalance. So sharing resources, very simple, and this is happening right now. So the crisis is the catalyst. It's the response and the reactions, the resistance. So minimizing needless suffering because it creates equivalent suffering. The friction, the amount of friction of resisting. Now, that isn't saying we should resist what's detrimental. It's saying we need to go with the beneficial, whether we consciously think whatever. It's following the vibration. How does it feel beyond mind? Needless work. When we have awareness through the unified field synthesis, when we are synthesized, when we are synchronized with synchronicity, when we are tuned to natural cycles, the more we are conscious of the unified field movements. When we are thinking other things and we're tuned out, then intuition, we might say, is dampened accordingly. Again, so that's where beliefs can throw us off, or, again, tuning in to the senses, not to, like people say, follow your heart, but take your brain with you. The heart is the driver, the mind is a vehicle, the body's a vehicle, they're totally essential, all of these, but if the mind, ego, and fear are calling the shots over the heart, oh boy, listen to your heart above all other voices. So again, everyone intuits the re-emergency on different levels. The minds, the egos perceive it according to their conditioning and what they have to defend. Controlling mindsets want dictatorships. It's sociopathic. It's duality. Then there's anesthetized within form and matter and space-time and limitation and comparisons and competition and duality. Allies, the loving majority, knowing that equality is peace. It's natural law. So many points between that different people can even flip back and forth at times. So some know, but are just justifying the means with the ends. It's like, well, I know better, but this is the condition I'm in here. This is a society. Blame the society. Well, we are working through that, but we can't blame something. There are no isolated events. It's a collective dynamic that's going on here. Like that famous saying, the only way for a dictator to take over is for loving everyday people to go along with it. Usually because they don't know. They're hearing something other than what the actual agenda is. So, or supporting things. We're supporting things we don't even know what we're supporting. It sounded good. The advertisement sounded like it was really good for me. So dialing into intuition beyond what it looks like. The unification is natural saturation of the unified field. The galactic alignment increases the amount of energy, which increases the level of saturation, which increases the level of connectivity, which increases the level of telepathy, intuition, potentiality for faster change. Again, I'd be going on for 4 hours about what the opportunities there are. Saturated field. A hologram with super octane. How's that? The great quickening, the age of Aquarius, honoring equality and diversity as peace for peace. Being peaceful. Peaceful demonstrations demonstrate peace in action. Sustainability, overall well-being. Desperation accordingly causes strife, conflict, desperate acts. People have their needs met. That goes to a minimum, back to natural levels accordingly. And again, so the more our needs are met, the more confident and positive we are to express our actual talents. Now you got really happy people blissing out. Whoa, what a nightmare. Scary, eh? Can you imagine if everybody was equal? Whoa, rewind. All are created equal. It's the source in multiple forms. That is equal. It's equally unique, whatever you want to call it. Whatever it takes. Namaste in the couch. Call it a dream or know its natural order. Natural law overcomes all unnatural imposed regulations. They are unsustainable. That which is not built on love or natural law will collapse accordingly. Hoarding stores enough for 70 lifetimes. Again, that's sociopathic. It's extreme fear. Clinging, the south node in Taurus. So love shares. It's awake shares. And there's plenty more where this came from. It's a feedback loop. The more it's moving, the more that comes in. And that's the flow. The flow, unblock the river. We'll have fresher water. Overflowing, and that's an open heart. That's open chakras by analogy as well. So overflowing from fullness is not hoarding. Surplus, shared. Truth. Accuracy, let's put it that way. Accuracy is no less accurate because of perceptual believability. So, fortunately for truth, it doesn't matter if we believe it. But it's unfortunate for people if it was, and it was beneficial, and we didn't listen. So again, I don't care where it came from, is it beneficial? So, watching, not sitting around, be an active participant. Peaceful demonstrations demonstrating peace in action. Relativity You know, if everything expands and quickens almost equally, we'd only notice giant leaps or big differences suddenly, which we are. If everything is 10 times bigger than it was 100 years ago, in relativity, would you know? Would anybody know? They all look 10 times bigger. But what do we notice? These tweak points, these sudden shifts, there's glitches in the matrix. Imagine there's no countries. There's only one, and they're human control dramas. The earth, all the animals, the air, sees no separation, no borders. Only fear does. Nationalism. How about universality? The universe is versing all through song, frequency, vibration, information, music. Music beyond maybe human conditions. Harmonic, proportion, vibrational, musical, light, geometries, many words. One holographic body source. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood and sisterhood of man. Imagine all the people living life in peace. I would almost say, remember all the people living lives in peace. So you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And we are all the only one. And I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live and be as one. And again, that's the remembrance. The remembrance to remember. Nothing to prove, nothing to win, no need for gross level competition, all reason for growing and catalyzing each other to get more talented. Again, a team player has become more tactful and harmonic and co-creative with the whole. Doesn't matter what team you're on, doesn't matter what the scoreboard says. The award points are vibrational. That's all we take with us. The soul accumulates the lessons. The spirit is omnipresent, already knew. The soul is accumulated experience. The body is a finite vehicle. Very important. The eternal, the transitional, and the finite. Same with beliefs, same with conditions. Finite. That was true then. Is it time to do something else? Okay. Thanking the lessons, leaving the book. Thanking the players, thanking the actresses and actors, shaking hands at the end of the soccer game. Thanks. We all learned more tact together. We all won because we are so much more harmonic. We're learning to be team players and co-creators. The school of life, the heart school. Earth, the heart school. Painting well with will, co-creation with source, will and divine will aligned as one. Talk about core root simple. Grow forth freely now and co-create more beautiful. Grow forth freely now and co-create more beautiful. Remember that one? Not from the show. Maybe you remember it from the show. Grow forth freely now and co-create more beautiful. Does that not stick you right back in the middle of that inverted mirror ball? Right? The presence, the source. Remember? Primordial well-being. Very simple in essence, yet the 10,000 things are born of it. Well, it looked like this and it looked like that, and in this condition it was that, and that's true. Hopefully. Depends on our perception of it. Are we reading it accurately? Same with intuition. Are we interpreting our intuition accurately? The mind is a vehicle. The computer does what you tell it to. That's where we need to remove false programming or detrimental programming, or outmoded programming. Let's just put it that way. Let's not look at it as wrong. Maybe we needed to learn these things this way. That's how we learn. Reloading the program. And it's time for an update. Major update, paradigm level shift update, natural timing, totally online. Everything about it is perfect. What is important is that we respond wisely and beneficially in it. That's, if there's anything to be concerned about, is what are we doing in it? So, clearing, expanding. We're gardeners, we're stewards, we're universal heart students. Evolving our wisdom, our true wisdom, we might say, maximizes the overall beneficial of the entire body and minimizes the detrimental. And again, maximum and minimum doesn't necessarily mean absolutely comfortable all the time. Sometimes there's downsides. Many things are a mix. 90% beneficial, 10% not so comfortable. Or not so beneficial. It's better than 80-20. As soon as you find 100, great. But in the meantime, do what you can right now. So maximizing overall well-being. For example, being what you love, what you're called to, following your bliss, listening to the heart above all other voices. You're called to be serving. This is your highest levels of bliss. You're going to thrive in this. Processes of self-mastery. What is it the universe called for me to be born in this moment for that I signed up for without a pen? Thriving spiritually, physically, materially. A professional artist. A service, a professional art service. What is your professional art service? The universal art is putting conscious intention, potentiality into form. Beautiful, lovely. Harmony, lovely. Doing our best. We learn to paint well by learning to paint well. We paint and paint and paint and paint. Maybe you want to paint over the first several lifetimes. We learn to be pros by learning and the practicing and the mastering through the experiences as much as possible. Success is succeeding. So processes, successes in each step advancing to total completion, whatever that might look like, don't worry about it. Shoot for the stars. Have vision. Go for the ultimate. That maximizes your potentiality. But if you have super attachment and expectation, you might let yourself down on that one. It's like putting someone on a pedestal. You knocked them off right then. Shoot for the stars, except the moon. Yeah, they're still human. The planets are transfer stations. They're levels on the spiral staircase to heaven. Supporting what we want to thrive. Feeding what we want to thrive accordingly, and vice versa. What do we support? Some things are supported by not knowing what is being supported. It's coverted. So, again, intuition, tuning into it, learning as much information as possible, as well as intuitive sensing. It's the bothness. It's the allness. We're eternal spirits experiencing and expressing through bodies. That's the bothness and all points between us. The soul right in the middle there going, omnipotential versus present conditions, okay. So, less expensive products from child labor or unfair trade. Long-term big picture, let me think here. So, it may be unseen. It's tricky. If it's not said openly, it probably isn't. Nothing to tell people except what they want to hear. Red flag. Things that show. We are putting these proceeds into this. Oh, well, that shows. Or is that just a front? But some people use that kind of statement as a front. So again, going beyond that, beyond weapons of mass destruction, grow forth freely now and co-create more beautiful. Grow forth. Let's look at that part. Through the four realms, grow forth. Grow forth through the physical. Freely now. Give others freedom to do so as well. Maximize beneficial. Root of all. Maximizing overall well-being. Being well overall. You know you're successful when you're happy, when your spirit is thriving. We know we're online, even if we're the only one doing that. You're online. What shall love do with me, through me, as me now? Again, together, to get here, to get there, to get here now. Be here now, to get here, to get there, to get here, together. And co-create more beautiful. Paint over that part. You don't like it. Co-create with Source. You know, I've said this so many times in my life. Somebody said, what do you think is the difference between an artist and somebody who just doesn't keep going? And I said, the artist says, of course I don't know exactly how to do it every single time. I paint over it. Keep going. Don't let it get you down. Okay, we're at the end of this show. Again, there's so much more to get into. I can't get into all these details, but again, the unified field is a co-creative movement. I could sit and pick apart little pieces of how this planet and that planet, and that's great usually, but there's too many this week. So the overview is awesome. I think the overview is way more beneficial. It makes way more sense. Let's look at the big picture. Why are all these little parts happening? It's one big movement and multiple different diverse expressions within it. That's our roles, our angles, our services. On that note, if I can help any more, you could contact me. Maybe you want to dial into your personal astroclimatology, vibrational alignment. Again, astrocosmology is a lens into the vibrational causal. It's an access code to the higher being. In other words, it's like accessing the programmer of the program, which is actually a source creation, co-creation with our spirit. We're tuning in beyond the mind or conditioning, false conditioning. So, if you'd like to get a hold of me, I'll be here till about 2 o'clock at 250-352-9600, 250-352-9600, or you can email me at universaltraveler@cjly.net. Thank you so much for listening. Love you lots. When the power of love